Go. Okay.
When I was 10 years old, my grandpa found out he had type 2 diabetes. And from that point on, his life changed astronomically. He had to really start watching what he ate, had to create healthier habits, and watch his sugar levels and be more active. None of those things were a problem for my grandparents. Their problem was the expensive doses of insulin he had to take every month. They solemnly spent money on themselves, and even with that, they struggled to keep their payments with his insulin. Their insurance didn't cover much of his prescription, and on top of all of that, all of his other medications created bigger issues. For the average American citizen, it is a rarity to find affordable medication, especially when one does not have the proper health insurance, which includes a lot of the population. Not every person gets the luxury of being provided with good health care through their job, and without it being provided, it is extremely expensive to maintain payments. The main group of people with this lack of insurance is diabetics. Diabetics have to have insulin. Their bodies need it to survive, and they can't even get it. Insulin shouldn't be something that a person can't have access to. It shouldn't be something that's causing someone to have to scrape by, and it shouldn't even be questioned that it should be one of the most affordable drugs on the market. A person shouldn't die just because they can't afford their insulin. They shouldn't have to pay to stay alive. Until accessibility and cost goes down, these people will continue to struggle with their condition when they should have never had to in the first place. Economical ratings have created a financial gap within Americans, especially when it comes to the purchase of medications. But this isn't new. For years, people have had issues with paying for their medicine. The cost of medication is steep. A vial or bottle by itself is a pretty penny. Insulin is one of the main costly items. Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health states, the burden is even greater on the uninsured, who without a price cap could pay as much as $275 per vial, $27 per 1 milliliter, and may need several vials per month. A 2022 study found that 14% of Americans who use insulin spend a catastrophic 40% or more of their available income on the drug. Let me remind you that a vast majority of Americans don't have health insurance, which means that $275 a vial has to be paid full-time at pickup. Times 275 by 3, that's $825 a month for essential medication. And now inflation has made prices at an all-time high. The American Diabetes Association says the inflation-adjusted cost of insulin increased 24% from 2017 to 2022. Spending on insulin tripled in the past 10 years, increasing from $8 billion in 2012 to $22.3 billion in 2022. A jump this drastic has done nothing but hurt the diabetic population. It has made insulin unaffordable for the majority population. All of this creates the same point. Who is going to close the financial gap for these people? The Mayo Clinic makes an example of Alex Smith, a 26-year-old who died from diabetic ketoacidosis. His death was preventable, but his lack of insurance and no way to pay for insulin. He died after only a month of being on his own. He died because he couldn't afford the medication he needed to survive. Again, according to Mayo Clinic, insulin costs 10 times more in the United States than it does in any other country. A person can't be expected to pay to live, especially when the cost is unreachable with their income. It's not like insulin is a rare drug either. It's cheap to make and easily accessible for pharmacies everywhere, a major point made by Diabetes Care. So if insulin is highly needed and easy and accessible to make, why does it have to be such a burden on diabetics? Diabetes Care also states 1 in 3 Medicare beneficiaries have diabetes, and 3.1 million require insulin. As insulin prices rise, 1 in 4 people on insulin report reducing use due to cost. Even with help from Medicare, diabetics can't afford insulin. So instead of buying it, they risk their lives. A governmental aid insurance won't give enough support for a critical medication, and people can't afford it on their own. Diabetics are left with a single option: die or drown in financial burden. There should no longer be a financial gap for those with or without health insurance. The point of this matter is, whether a person can or can't afford health insurance, they should still be able to have access to their crucial medication. Diabetes shouldn't have to worry about not being able to pay for their insulin in whatever form they prefer. An NBC News article published saying the high cost of insulin forced many people to ration the medicine. Over 1 million people in the U.S. either skipped or delayed or used less insulin than was needed. This skipping around behavior can lead to hospitalization, another unaffordable cost, and even death. There shouldn't be a reason for diabetics to sparsely use insulin. Insulin shouldn't just be cheaper, it should be practically free. The dream of one day being able to fully afford the medications needed shouldn't be dangled over one's head. It should be a reality. Insulin production is cheap, and there's a vast majority of it all over the world. Access is easy, but receiving is not. According to Democracy Journal, nearly 10% of Americans today are diabetic. 10% of the nation is an astounding 34,142,711 approximated individuals, and most can't get the medication they need. The diabetic community continues to grow, and with that, prices should be lowered and access should be granted. There should no longer be a struggle between the government and insulin users. No more skipping bills for insulin payments, no more stretching out doses, no more begging and bargaining for the things they need, no more unaffordable and unreachable life-saving drugs. When a person is asked if they want to live or die, they'll more than likely choose to live. U.S. pharmaceutical distributors need to understand that every person deserves that choice, because right now, diabetics don't have it. Being able to afford the thing that keeps you alive should no longer be a privilege, but a right. A diabetic shouldn't have to throw all their money into buying essential medication. Continuing to donate to help organizations and reaching out about this medication crisis is essential to making a change with overpriced insulin. Donate, share, cut support of high-priced drugs, and give what you can to those struggling. Diabetics deserve to live just like everyone else, and now more than ever is the time for change. Thank you.
Woo!